became so lovely.
I don't even know anymore.
Bluest skies.
I've done so much because I was afraid.
So lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back.
It's like I'm back inside the mirror, except
hate where I am.
I put myself here.
I can't go back.
Are you kidding?
But I hate
There's
where
nothing
I am.
here. Maybe I'm tired of running away. Maybe I'd rather be with everyone and be in danger than be safe and alone.
They'd be glad to have you back.
I don't know. If I went back now, there's no way things could go back to how they were.
Yeah, but that's all right.
I'm not alone.
Things would just be different.
What do you mean?
Well,
Maybe I'm not alone. Became so lovely. Bluest skies.
when you go back, we should all hang out more.
Huh. When I go back.
I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear. Bluest skies
inside me.
became so lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. I can't go back, but I hate where I am. Became so lovely. Bluest skies became so lovely. Bluest skies.
I got just outside the Milky Way and I felt so lonely.
So why didn't you just come back?
I want to, but I just can't. Not after the way I left. What would Peridot say? What if the diamonds show up? What if something bad happens?
Bluest skies became so lovely. Bluest skies. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear. I can't go back. I am sorry, my dear.
Well, what if something good happens?
At last, the Keyblade's chosen one. When you go away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean, it's the way that you make me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. When you go away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean, it's the way that you make me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. Daily thing like this and this and that. What is what that keeps us so busy? Are confusing me. That's when you came and said, wish I could prove I love you. It's enough when
I say it all the time. You ultimately need to do what your heart feels is right.
When you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. Oh,
when you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go.
Master, did you make this? It's so cute.
the daily things like this and that, and what is what that keep us busy are confusing me. That's when you came, said, wish I could prove I love you. Confusing me. It's enough when
I say it all the time. You ultimately need to do what your heart feels is right.
When you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. Oh, when you walk away, you don't hear me say, please. Oh, baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. It's hard to let it go. Oh,
I say it all the time. You ultimately need to do what your heart feels is right.
daily thing. Listen, that. What is what?
Right.
Are confusing me.
okay. Welcome guys. How's everybody doing? I pray everybody has had a day that has gone swimmingly. Yeah, welcome. We're gonna be jumping into some Ori right away. So I'll pause the chill music. I'm quite excited for tonight, dude. It's gonna be a little bit of Ori and the Blind Forest, followed by the exciting conclusion of Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. Pretty darn sweet, no? I'm glad your day has been poggers, my good boy. Well, hang on. There we go. My controller was being temperamental for a moment. Bleh. Blah, 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 blah. Here we are again. I forget even what I was doing in this game. That's right, I was exploring the Goober's Cavern. I previously got a number of new tricks and fun things. I can double jump now. It's pretty darn sweet. I figured out I can move I can move the spider webs. It's also quite nice. No fear. You cannot stop me with these little pillars. I dare you. That's right, guys. I'm living on the edge. Oh, well. Oh my god. What message was sexual? I guess thanks, Automod. Well, that is actually something that I'm quite excited about. Coleman, if you enjoyed the, you know, the one or two, did we do two? The few sessions that we did with your bro, then I think you'd enjoy this one. You may even enjoy it more. It's got I don't know much about the world that we'd be jumping into, but it's the same concept, right? We jump in, we have our characters, they all meet up, but this time we'll be instead of in a fantasy world, we will be in the world of mechs and science and wacky things like that. Let's see. Do I really want to go this way? First, can I get up here? 'Cause there's a little alcove there. Come on, swim up the waterfall, Ori. Do it. Swim. That's a thing that people do, right? People can swim up waterfalls. I know salmon can. If salmon can, why can't we? You know, that's the question that I posed today. Yeah, man, I think it would be neat. Whoa, excuse me, sir. Excuse me, Mr. Spider. I would kindly appreciate you not zapping me. Why? How did those spiders even develop their zappy powers? Yeah, man. Salmon are better than us, aren't they? Yet we eat them. And I'm very okay with that. Because salmon, I must admit, salmon are one of my favorite fish. What the hell? How do I get up there again? Oh, I do need to go this way. Yoop. Wait, can I jump over these? I cannot. I gotta go up this way. Yoop. Let's see. So I really need to go ree. Ree. Oh my god, that took out so much of my life. Okay, maybe I go like this. Yeah, there we go. So I jumped over for, nah, man. Okay, never mind. I was going the right way, wasn't I? Sorry, Spider. I was going the right way before. Ah! Ah! Frog, why you be belching these big old bombs? Honest to goodness, haven't been this excited about a system since I first picked up D&D. And the modularity of the whole mech system is wild. So the battle system, are you talking about? Hey, that's probably for the best. I lost a fair amount of health. No fear. Hiya. And we're back. We must take out this goober once again. Alright, let's see if I can actually... Hey. Thankfully, I can allow for a little bit of spikage, for there are little plants here that give me life. The modularity. What do you mean by modularity? I'm curious. Let's see how I fare against this platforming. Hey, yeah, epic. Oh no, another magenta frog. Oh yeah, I actually really liked this platforming. Oh, I mustn't let it deter me. How did I mean, I did that so easily the first time. Oh man. I suppose my Ori skills are rusty after a weekend of not touching it. Kind of. You get to build your own mech by selecting a frame and then outfitting it with any of your unlocked weapons and mech system/weapon mods. Nice, that sounds cool. I like the idea of the customization aspect. Man, what kind of mechs are there? Are there, like, you know, you mentioned various frames. Does that mean there's, you know, kind of like the class system in D&D? Are there ones that lend themselves more towards tanking, ones that are more for like heavy firepower, like a mage? Are there some that are quick, like a rogue or a fighter? Alright, there we go. I'm starting to get a little smoother with this. Dude, these bats are just chilling. I really thought, like, when I first came across those little bats that they would be enemies, but apparently not. They're just hanging out. Literally hanging upside down. There we go. There we are. Nice. Alright. We made it. Yup. Okay. Finally getting out of this place. I am gonna save here though. I don't want to do all that platforming again. Hey, what's up, Big Bang? I don't think I ever caught your real name, so I'll just call you Bang Bang for now. The stream's going well so far. Just started it a moment ago. I'm quite excited for tonight, though. Tyron, nice. Thanks, I appreciate that, man. I definitely prefer calling people by their actual names, unless they got a super sweet screen name or something. But yeah, welcome, dude. Glad you are stopping by. It means a lot. Like I said, I'm pretty excited for tonight. We have the exciting conclusion of the book we've been reading during like the normal episodes, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We're on the final 2 chapters tonight, and we will see if our heroes actually make the deadline. Well, we're gonna see if they can prevent the war between the gods. But before that, kind of easing into the stream with a little bit of Ori here. A little bit of Ori. Before this story. I like that actually. I haven't said that yet. Some Ori before the story. Alright, well, we're heading the right way here. Can finally get out of this goober's lair. I guess, man, I probably ought to stop calling him a goober, right? He turned out to be a pretty cool guy. Have I not explored this way before? Probably couldn't make it over the last time. Can I this time, though? Yeah. Do I try? Do I go for it? Any idea what game you'll be playing before reading once you finish Ori? I'm planning on getting the sequel. We may take a break from Ori, though. Not entirely sure. I have a game called Figment I've been wanting to check out. That one could be nice. I've been meaning to revisit Fez for a long time now, so that would probably be a good one too. Or I never played through Bastion, and I've heard just really great things about that one. Or I don't know. There's a lot of them that could be. Oh, so I can swim. It just hurts me a little. Nice. Do it. I did. I thought I was dead there. Honestly, I really thought I was dead as soon as I hit the water. Well, not entirely sure how to get past the spiky dudes. But yeah, I'd love to play the sequel. I mean, that's why I picked up this game. In regards to classes, there are some archetypes for the mechs. I think there's about 5 in total, and each frame belongs to 1 or 2 of the archetypes, which gives you an idea of what they're best suited for. But there's so much modularity for the frames, the archetypes are way more like a suggestion than a hard requirement. You've got some tough competition. Patrick's little brother is streaming Fortnite. Yeah, man, it's hard to beat the Fortnite streamers, but I mean, I am no, like, I don't know, I'm no gaming streamer. There are plenty of those guys out there. I just like to play some Ori before my stories. And it makes for a nice thing to allow for just some, like, chill time and some conversation with the chat and all that good stuff. Whoa, fork knife? How old is Patrick's little brother? Oh, dude, where did Ori go? Where'd the character at? Right here. Huh. 12 years old and a budding streamer. Hey, man. Follow your dreams. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so I do have a soul link. So I will soul link right here. Okay, so I found out that I can make it over there. Could I make it over there without... Ah, okay. Oh, there's a thing in there. That is tempting. It tempts me so. His stream isn't even loading? Or are you talking about Patrick's little brothers or mine? Ooh. I think I'm gonna cheese this guy out. Yeah, very nice. Oof, poor man. Or are you talking about my stream? Is my stream loading? Okay, good stuff. Just want to make sure. It looks alright on my other computer here. My laptop. I pulled that up just to, you know, keep an eye on how things are looking. Ah, ooh. Okay, I see now. I meant to deal with these guys from the other angle. Yeah! Yes! Got the life cell. I always liked when kids get raided by big streamers because their reactions are so heartwarming. The first sentence is always, I gotta go show my mom! Yeah, I get that, man. Honestly, I mean, that's the way it is with most, like, small streamers, too. Feel as though that initial reaction is very cute and heartwarming. Yeah, got another soul link. Can I make my way in there? I don't know about that one. Hey! Alright, well, there's a lot of this place that I've yet to explore. And if I went back this way, there's a couple of spots. Really only this spot here that I could actually get into now. But I need to make it up there. Do I go straight for the objective, or do I go exploring? Have you had any pretty big raids yet? Really only the one from you, and my buddy Loop Coops. And when I say like big raids, you know, it's about 6 or 7 people usually. But even that is pretty darn cool. I felt honored and elated. What do you guys think? Exploration or objective? Exploration or objective? Not sure. Always explore first. I thought so. That's normally my initial reaction. Oh, yay, yay. Okay, so this guy won't actually die. Oh, I see now though how I might be able to defeat him. Oh man. Ah, golly. Oh man. Jeepers, dude, I did not expect that. Oh yeah. I mean, he might get crunched the next time, but I was the crunchy this time. Well, poop. I guess I don't know. It is about 6:30, which is when I'd promised to start the reading. So I think now is as good a time as ever to call it. Although I do want revenge on that man, that little goober. Although I mean, it wasn't even his fault really. Whoever set up that big old squash trap, that guy is the one to blame. Who even sets up those traps? Oh yeah, dude. Story time after the Ori time. I still like that a lot. I'm gonna have to play Ori no matter what, like before streams now, or before the reading now. Otherwise, I can't make the little rhyme. Ah, well, I'm quite excited. Let me see. Real quick though, I'd like to change up the lighting a bit. Is that a little bit better? Right on. Gonna take off for a workout, but I'll leave the stream open for an extra viewer. Thanks, man. I appreciate that a bunch. Alright, well, let's get into the story. I've got the book here. As you all may well know, we are very, very close to the end. Only chapters 21 and 22 remain. Oh, I'm so excited I nearly forgot to switch into into the reading zone. Well, guys, get adjusted in your chairs and get comfy, cuz we're about to finish this book. So, this is Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, by Rick Riordan. Chapter 21, I Settle My Tab. It's funny how humans can wrap their minds around things and fit them into their version of reality. Chiron had told me that long ago. As usual, I didn't appreciate his wisdom until much later. According to the LA News, the explosion at the Santa Monica beach had been caused when a crazy kidnapper fired a shotgun at a police car. He accidentally hit a gas main that had ruptured during the earthquake. This crazy kidnapper, aka Ares, was the same man who had abducted me and 2 other adolescents in New York and brought us across country on a 10-day odyssey of terror. Poor little Percy Jackson wasn't an international criminal after all. He'd caused a commotion on the Greyhound bus in New Jersey trying to get away from his captor, and afterward, witnesses would even swear they'd seen the leather-clad man on the bus. Why didn't I remember him before? The crazy man had caused the explosion in the St. Louis Arch. After all, no kid could have done that. A concerned waitress in Denver had seen a man threatening his abductees outside her diner, gotten a friend to take a photo, and notified the police. Finally, brave Percy Jackson, I was beginning to like this kid, had stolen a gun from his captor in Los Angeles and battled him shotgun to rifle on the beach. Police had arrived just in time, but in the spectacular explosion, 5 police cars had been destroyed and the captor had fled. No fatalities had occurred. Percy Jackson and his 2 friends were safely in police custody. The reporters fed us this whole story. We just nodded and acted tearful and exhausted, which wasn't hard, and played victimized kids for the cameras. All I want, I said, choking back my tears, is to see my loving stepfather again. Every time I saw him on TV calling me a delinquent punk, I knew, somehow, we would be okay. And I know he'll want to reward each and every person in this beautiful city of Los Angeles with a free major appliance from his store. Here's the phone number. The police and reporters were so moved that they passed around the hat and raised money for 3 tickets on the next plane to New York. I knew there was no choice but to fly. I hoped Zeus would cut me some slack, considering the circumstances. But it was still hard to force myself to board the flight. Takeoff was a nightmare. Every spot of turbulence was scarier than a Greek monster. I didn't unclench my hands from the arm seats until we touched down safely at LaGuardia. The local press were waiting for us outside security, but we managed to evade them thanks to Annabeth, who lured them away in her invisible Yankees cap, shouting, "They're over by the frozen yogurt! Come on!" Then rejoined us at baggage claim. We split up at the taxi stand. I told Annabeth and Grover to get back to Half-Blood Hill and let Chiron know what had happened. They protested, and it was hard to let them go after all we'd been through, but I knew I had to do this part of my quest by myself. If things went wrong, if the gods didn't believe me, I wanted Annabeth and Grover to survive to tell Chiron the truth. I hopped in a taxi and headed into Manhattan. 30 minutes later, I walked into the lobby of the Empire State Building. I must have looked like a homeless kid, with my tattered clothes and my scraped-up face. I hadn't slept in at least 24 hours. I went up to the guard at the front desk and said, 600th floor. He was reading a huge book with a picture of a wizard on the front. I wasn't much into fantasy, but the book must have been good, because the guard took a while to look up. "No such floor, kiddo." "I need an audience with Zeus." He gave me a vacant smile. "Sorry." "You heard me." I was about to decide this guy was just a regular mortal, and I'd better run for it before he called the straitjacket patrol, when he said, "No appointment, no audience, kiddo. Lord Zeus doesn't see anyone unannounced." "Oh, I think he'll make us an exception." I slipped off my backpack and unzipped the top. The guard looked inside at the metal cylinder, not getting what it was for a few seconds. Then his face went pale. "That isn't..." "Yes, it is," I promised. "You want me to take it out and..." No! He scrambled out of his seat, fumbled around his desk for a key card, then handed it to me. "Insert this into the security slot. Make sure nobody else is in the elevator with you." I did as he told me. As soon as the elevator doors closed, I slipped the key into the slot. The card disappeared, and a new button appeared on the console. A red one that said 600. I pressed it and waited. Muzak played. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Finally, ding! The doors slid open. I stepped out and almost had a heart attack. I was standing on a narrow stone walkway in the middle of the air. Below me was Manhattan, from the height of an airplane. In front of me, white marble steps wound up the spine of a cloud into the sky. My eyes followed the stairway to its end, where my brain just could not accept what I saw. "Look again," my brain said. "We're looking," my eyes insisted. "It's really there." From the top of the clouds rose the decapitated peak of a mountain, its summit covered with snow. Clinging to the mountainside were dozens of multi-leveled palaces, a city of mansions, all with white-columned porticos, gilded terraces, and bronze braziers glowing with 1,000 fires. Roads wound crazily up to the peak, where the largest palace gleamed against the snow. Precariously perched, gardens bloomed with olive trees and rose bushes. I could make out an open-air market filled with colorful tents, a stone amphitheater built on one side of the mountain, a hippodrome, and a coliseum on the other. It was an ancient Greek city, except it wasn't in ruins. It was new and clean and colorful, the way Athens must have looked 2,500 years ago. "This place can't be here," I told myself. The tip of a mountain hanging over New York City, like a billion-ton asteroid? How could something like that be anchored above the Empire State Building, in plain sight of millions of people, and not get noticed? But here it was, and here I was. My trip through Olympus was a daze. I passed some giggling wood nymphs who threw olives at me from their garden. Hawkers in the market offered to sell me ambrosia on a stick, and a new shield, and a genuine glitter-weave replica of the Golden Fleece, as seen on Hephaestus TV. The 9 muses were tuning their instruments for a concert in the park, while a small crowd gathered. Satyrs and naiads, and a bunch of good-looking teenagers, who might have been minor gods and goddesses. Nobody seemed worried about an impending civil war. In fact, everyone seemed in a festive mood. Several of them turned and watched me pass, and whispered to themselves. I climbed the main road, toward the big palace at the peak. It was a reserve copy of the palace in the underworld. There, everything had been black and bronze. Here, everything glittered white and silver. I realized Hades must have built his palace to resemble this one. He wasn't welcome in Olympus except on the winter solstice. So, he'd built his own Olympus underground. Despite my bad experience with him, I felt a little sorry for the guy. To be banished from this place seemed really unfair. It would make anybody bitter. Steps led up to a central courtyard. Past that, the throne room. Room really isn't the right word. The place made Grand Central Station look like a broom closet. Massive columns rose to a domed ceiling, which was gilded with moving constellations. 12 thrones built for beings the size of Hades were arranged in an inverted U, just like the cabins at Camp Half-Blood. An enormous fire crackled in the central hearth pit. The thrones were empty except for 2 at the end. The head throne on the right, and the one to its immediate left. I didn't have to be told who the 2 gods were that were sitting there, waiting for me to approach. I came toward them, my legs trembling. The gods were in giant human form, as Hades had been, but I could barely look at them without feeling a tingle, as if my body were starting to burn. Zeus, the lord of the gods, wore a dark blue pinstriped suit. He sat on a simple throne of solid platinum. He had a well-trimmed beard, marbled gray and black, like a storm cloud. His face was proud and handsome and grim, his eyes rainy gray. As I got near to him, the air crackled and smelled of ozone. The god sitting next to him was his brother, without a doubt, but he was dressed very differently. He reminded me of a beachcomber from Key West. He wore leather sandals, khaki Bermuda shorts, and a Tommy Bahama shirt with coconuts and parrots all over it. His skin was deeply tanned, his hands scarred like an old-time fisherman's. His hair was black like mine. His face had the same brooding look that had always gotten me branded as a rebel. But his eyes, sea green like mine, were surrounded by sun crinkles that told me he smiled a lot, too. His throne was a deep-sea fisherman's chair. It was the simple, swiveling kind, with a black leather seat and a built-in holster for a fishing pole. Instead of a pole, the holster held a bronze trident, flickering with green light around the tips. The gods weren't moving or speaking, but there was tension in the air, as if they'd just finished an argument. I approached the fisherman's throne and knelt at its feet. "Father," I dared not look up. My heart was racing. I could feel the energy emanating from the 2 gods. If I said the wrong thing, I had no doubt they could blast me into the dust. To my left, Zeus spoke. "Should you not address the master of this house first, boy?" I kept my head down and waited. "Peace, brother," Poseidon finally said, His voice stirred my oldest memories. That warm glow I remembered as a baby. The sensation of this god's hand on my forehead. The boy defers to his father. This is only right. You still claim him, then? Zeus asked menacingly. You claim this child, whom you sired against our sacred oath? I have admitted my wrongdoing, Poseidon said. Now, I would hear him speak. Wrongdoing? A lump welled in my throat. Was that all I was? A wrongdoing? The result of a god's mistake? I have spared him once already, Zeus grumbled, daring to fly through my domain. Pah! I should have blasted him out of the sky for his impudence. And risk destroying your own master bolt? Poseidon asked calmly. Let us hear him out, brother. Zeus grumbled some more. I shall listen, he decided. Then I shall make up my mind whether or not to cast this boy down from Olympus. Perseus, Poseidon said, look at me. I did. I wasn't sure what I saw in his face. There was no clear sign of love or approval, nothing to encourage me. It was like looking at the ocean. Some days you could tell what mood it was in. Most days, though, it was unreadable, mysterious. I got the feeling Poseidon really didn't know what to think of me. He didn't know whether he was happy to have me as a son or not. In a strange way, I was glad that Poseidon was so distant. If he tried to apologize or told me he loved me or even smiled, it would have felt fake. Like a human dad making some lame excuse for not being around. I could live with that. After all, I wasn't sure about him yet either. Address the Lord Zeus, boy, Poseidon told me. Tell him your story. So I told Zeus everything, just as it had happened. I took out the metal cylinder, which began sparking in the sky god's presence, and I laid it at his feet. There was a long silence, broken only by the crackle of the hearth fire. Zeus opened his palm. The lightning bolt flew into it as he closed his fist. The metallic points flared with electricity until he was holding what looked more like the classic thunderbolt, a 20-foot javelin of arcing, hissing energy that made the hairs of my scalp rise. I sense the boy tells the truth, Zeus muttered. But that Ares would do such a thing. It is most unlike him. He is proud and impulsive, Poseidon said. It runs in the family. Lord? I asked. They both said, yes. Ares didn't act alone. Something else came up with the idea. I described my dreams, and the feeling I had on the beach, that momentary breath of evil that had seemed to stop the world, and made Ares back off from killing me. In the dreams, I said, the voice told me to bring the bolt to the underworld. Ares hinted that he'd been having dreams too. I think he was being used, just as I was, to start the war. You are accusing Hades after all? Zeus asked. No, I said. I mean, Lord Zeus. I've been in the presence of Hades. This feeling on the beach was different. It was the same thing I felt when I got close to that pit. That was the entrance to Tartarus, wasn't it? Something powerful and evil is stirring down there. Something even older than the gods. Poseidon and Zeus looked at each other. They had a quick, intense discussion in ancient Greek. I only caught one word. Father. Poseidon made some kind of suggestion, but Zeus cut him off. Poseidon tried to argue. Zeus held up his hand angrily. "We will speak of this no more," Zeus said. "I must go personally to purify this thunderbolt in the waters of Lemnos, to remove the human taint from its metal." He rose and looked at me. His expression softened just a fraction of a degree. "You have done me a service, boy. Few heroes could have accomplished as much." "I had help, sir," I said. "Grover Underwood and Annabeth Chase." "To show you my thanks, I shall spare your life. I do not trust you, Percy Jackson. I do not like what your arrival means for the future of Olympus. But for the sake of peace in my family, I shall let you live." Thank you, sir."
"Do not presume to fly again. Do not let me find you. Do not let me find you here when I return. Otherwise, you shall taste this bolt, and it shall be your last sensation."
Thunder shook the palace. With a blinding flash of lightning, Zeus was gone. I was alone in the throne room with my father. "Your uncle," Poseidon said, "has always had a flair for dramatic exits. I think he would have done well as the god of theater." An uncomfortable silence. "Sir," I said, "what was in that pit?" Poseidon regarded me. "Have you not guessed?" "Kronos," I said, "the king of the Titans." Even in the throne room of Olympus, far away from Tartarus, the name Kronos darkened the room, made the hearth fire seem not quite so warm on my back. Poseidon gripped his trident. "In the first war, Percy, Zeus cut our father Kronos into 1,000 pieces, just as Kronos had done to his own father, Uranus. Zeus cast Kronos' remains into the darkest pit of Tartarus. The Titan army was scattered, their mountain fortress on Etna destroyed, their monstrous allies driven to the farthest corners of the earth. And yet Titans cannot die, any more than we gods can. Whatever is left of Kronos is still alive, in some hideous way, still conscious in his eternal pain, still hungering for power." "He's healing," I said. "He's coming back." Poseidon shook his head. "From time to time, over the eons, Kronos has stirred. He enters men's nightmares and breathes evil thoughts. He wakens restless monsters from the depths, but to suggest he could rise from the pit is another thing." "That's what he intends, Father. That's what he said." Poseidon was silent for a long time. "Lord Zeus has closed discussion on this matter. He will not allow talk of Kronos. You have completed your quest, child. That is all you need to do." "But—" I stopped myself. Arguing would do no good. It would very possibly anger the only god who I had on my side. As you wish, Father." A faint smile played on his lips. "Obedience does not come naturally to you, does it?" "No, sir." "I must take some blame for that, I suppose." The sea does not like to be restrained." He rose to his full height and took up his trident. Then he shimmered and became the size of a regular man, standing directly in front of me. "You must go, child. But first, know that your mother has returned." I stared at him, completely stunned. "My mother?" "You will find her at home. Hades sent her when you recovered his helm. Even the Lord of Death pays his death debts." My heart was pounding. I couldn't believe it. Would you... I wanted to ask if Poseidon would come with me to see her, but then I realized that was ridiculous. I imagined loading the god of the sea into a taxi and taking him to the Upper East Side. If he'd wanted to see my mom all these years, he would have. And there was Smelly Gabe to think about. Poseidon's eyes took on a little sadness. When you return home, Percy, you must make an important choice. You will find a package waiting in your room. A package? You will understand when you see it. No one can choose your path, Percy. You must decide. I nodded, though I didn't know what he meant. Your mother is a queen among women, Poseidon said wistfully. I had not met such a mortal woman in 1,000 years. Still, I am sorry you were born, child. I have brought you a hero's fate, and a hero's fate is never happy. It is never anything but tragic. I tried not to feel hurt. He was my own dad, telling me he was sorry I'd been born. I don't mind, Father. Not yet, perhaps, he said. Not yet. But it was an unforgivable mistake on my part. I'll leave you then. I bowed awkwardly. I won't bother you again. I was 5 steps away when he called. Perseus. I turned. There was a different light in his eyes. A fiery kind of pride. You did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god. As I walked back through the city of the gods, conversations stopped. The muses paused their concert. People and satyrs and naiads all turned toward me, their faces filled with respect and gratitude. And as I passed, they knelt, as if I were some kind of hero. 15 minutes later, still in a trance, I was back on the streets of Manhattan. I called a taxi to my mom's apartment, rang the doorbell, and there she was. My beautiful mother, smelling of peppermint and licorice, the wariness and worry evaporating from her face as soon as she saw me. Percy! Oh, thank goodness! Oh, my baby! She crushed the air right out of me. We stood in the hallway as she cried and ran her hands through my hair. I'll admit it, my eyes were a little misty too. I was shaking. I was so relieved to see her. She told me she'd just appeared at the apartment that morning, scaring Gabe half out of his wits. She didn't remember anything since the Minotaur, and couldn't believe it when Gabe told her I was a wanted criminal, traveling across the country, blowing up national monuments. She'd been going out of her mind with worry all day because she hadn't heard the news. Gabe had forced her to go into work, saying she had a month's salary to make up and she'd better get started. I swallowed back my anger and told her my own story. I tried to make it sound less scary than it had been, but that wasn't easy. I was just getting to the fight with Ares when Gabe's voice interrupted from the living room. Hey, Sally! That meatloaf done yet or what? She closed her eyes. He isn't going to be happy to see you, Percy. The store got 500,000 phone calls today from Los Angeles. Something about free appliances. Oh, yeah, about that. She managed a weak smile. Just don't make him angrier, all right? Come on. In the month I'd been gone, the apartment had turned into Gabe-land. Garbage was ankle-deep on the carpet. The sofa had been reupholstered in beer cans. Dirty socks and underwear hung off the lampshades. Gabe and 3 of his big goony friends were playing poker at the table. When Gabe saw me, his cigar dropped right out of his mouth. His face got redder than lava. "You got some nerve coming here, you little punk. I thought the police—"
"He's not a fugitive after all," my mom interjected. "Isn't that wonderful, Gabe?"
Gabe looked back and forth between us. He didn't seem to think my homecoming was so wonderful.
"Bad enough I had to give back your life insurance money, Sally," he growled. "Give me the phone. I'll call the cops."
"Gabe, no!" He raised his eyebrow.
"Did you just say no? You think I'm gonna put up with this punk again? I can still press charges against him for ruining my Camaro."
"But—"
He raised his hand, and my mother flinched. For the first time, I realized something. Gabe had hit my mother. I didn't know when or how much, but I was sure he'd done it. Maybe it had been going on for years when I wasn't around. A balloon of anger started expanding in my chest. I came toward Gabe, instinctively taking my pen out of my pocket. He just laughed.
"What, punk? You gonna ride on me? You touch me, and you're going to jail forever. You understand?"
Hey, Gabe, his friend Eddie interrupted. "He's just a kid." Gabe looked at him resentfully and mimicked in a falsetto voice,
"He's just a kid."
His other friends laughed like idiots.
"I'll be nice to you, punk."
Gabe showed me his tobacco-stained teeth.
"I'll give you 5 minutes to get your stuff and clear out. After that, I call the police."
"Gabe!"
my mother pleaded.
"He ran away," Gabe told her. "Let him stay gone."
I was itching to uncap Riptide, but even if I did, the blade wouldn't hurt humans. And Gabe, by the loosest definition, was human. My mother took my arm.
"Please, Percy. Come on. We'll go to your room."
I let her pull me away, my hands still trembling with rage. My room had been completely filled with Gabe's junk. There were stacks of used car batteries, a rotting bouquet of sympathy flowers with a card from somebody who'd seen his Barbara Walters interview.
"Gabe is just upset, honey,"
my mother told me.
"I'll talk to him later. I'm sure it will work out."
"Mom, it'll never work out. Not as long as Gabe's here." She wrung her hands nervously.
I'll take you to work with me for the rest of the summer. In the fall, maybe there's another boarding school."
"Mom," she lowered her eyes.
"I'm trying, Percy. I need some time."
A package appeared on my bed. At least, I could have sworn it hadn't been there a moment before. It was a battered cardboard box, about the right size to fit a basketball. The address on the mailing slip was in my own handwriting. The Gods, Mount Olympus, 600th floor, Empire State Building, New York, New York. With best wishes, Percy Jackson. Over the top, in black marker, in a man's clear, bold print, was the address of our apartment and the words, "Return to sender." Suddenly, I understood what Poseidon had told me on Olympus. A package. A decision. "Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god." I looked at my mother.
"Mom, do you want Gabe gone?" "Percy, it isn't that simple.
Mom, just tell me."
The jerk has been hitting you. Do you want him gone or not? She hesitated, then nodded almost imperceptibly. Yes, Percy, I do. And I'm trying to get up my courage to tell him. But you can't do this for me. You can't solve my problems. I looked at the box. I could solve her problem. I wanted to slice that package open, plop it on the poker table, and take out what was inside. I could start my very own statue garden, right there in the living room. That's what a Greek hero would do in the stories, I thought. That's what Gabe deserves. But a hero's story always ended in tragedy. Poseidon had told me that. I remembered the underworld. I thought about Gabe's spirit drifting forever in the fields of asphodel, or condemned to some hideous torture behind the barbed wire of the fields of punishment. An eternal poker game, sitting up to his waist in boiling oil, listening to opera music. Did I have the right to send someone there? Even Gabe? A month ago, I would not have even hesitated. Now, I can do it, I told my mom. One look inside this box, and he'll never bother you again. She glanced at the package and seemed to understand immediately. No, Percy, she said, stepping away. You can't. Poseidon called you a queen, I told her. He said he hadn't met a woman like you in 1,000 years. Her cheeks flushed. Percy, you deserve better than this, Mom. You should go to college, get your degree. You can write your novel, meet a nice guy, live in a nice house. You don't need to protect me anymore by staying with Gabe. Let me get rid of him. She wiped a tear off her cheek. You sound so much like your father, she said. He offered to stop the tide for me once. He offered to build me a palace at the bottom of the sea. He thought he could solve all my problems with a wave of his hand. What's wrong with that? Her multicolored eyes seemed to search inside me. I think you know, Percy. I think you're enough like me to understand. If my life is going to mean anything, I have to live it myself. I can't let a god take care of me, or my son. I have to find the courage on my own. Your quest has reminded me of that. We listened to the sound of poker chips and swearing. ESPN from the living room television. I'll leave the box, I said. If he threatens you. She looked pale, but she nodded. Where will you go, Percy? Half-Blood Hill. For the summer? Or forever? I guess that depends. We locked eyes, and I sensed that we had an agreement. We would see how things stood at the end of summer. She kissed my forehead. You'll be a hero, Percy. You'll be the greatest of all. I took one last look around my bedroom. I had a feeling I'd never see it again. Then I walked with my mother to the front door. Leaving so soon, punk? Gabe called after me. Good riddance. I had one last twinge of doubt. How could I turn down the perfect chance to take revenge on him? I was leaving here without saving my mother. Hey, Sally, he yelled. What about that meatloaf, huh? A steely look of anger flared in my mother's eyes, and I thought, just maybe, I was leaving her in good hands after all. Her own. The meatloaf is coming right up, dear, she told Gabe. Meatloaf surprise. She looked at me and winked. The last thing I saw as the door swung closed was my mother staring at Gabe, as if she were contemplating how he would look as a garden statue. In my opinion, I don't know. Maybe it's just that we're getting so close to the end, but that was one of the best chapters yet. One chapter left, guys. One chapter left. That was a good chapter, though. The first time Percy truly encounters his father. And it turns out to be, not that impactful of a moment, it seemed. I like that resolve that Percy has when he approaches his father. How both of them are sizing each other up, Not only is his father, certainly proud, but still worried about the fact that he claimed him. But Percy, too, isn't sure about his father yet. I just think that's a cool thing. Shows resolve and a little rebellious side to both of them. Gotta end strong, I agree. God, I'm just remembering this time I went to a Percy Jackson event thing at a local kids theater, and it was awful. It was awful. Shoot. Oh, kids theater. Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt it. Were the kids at least trying? Were they at least, giving it their best? The guy leading it treated it like a whole kiddie deal and acted like the book was for 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds? Really? This book is for me. Do I look 5 years old to you? Huh? Do I look 5 years old? That's what I thought. That goldfish as snacks, and it put it in perspective. That's fair, man. I remember doing kids theater, though. I was in a production of Beauty and the Beast once, or an adaptation of it. It was a Christian adaptation, and it was something. It was something. That's right, Coleman. I look 6, at least. Come on. Come on. Nice. That was a sweet chapter. I'm also glad that I got to bring Smelly Gabe back. At least one last time. Before he perishes. I guess I should rephrase that. It wasn't put on by kids' theater. It was just there. Specifically, it was at Imaginon. Oh, so it wasn't kids. It wasn't kids doing the theater? It was simply aimed towards kids. I get you. Yeah. I don't like that. Yet, the movie tried to aim it towards teenagers, and that didn't even do it justice. In my own opinion. I mean, there are some real moments in this. I remember coming across certain moments in it, especially, that near-death experience that Percy has on the bridge, the top of the bridge, where the hole is blown open by the echidna and the chimera, and he's faced with the decision to either die by the chimera's claws or jump to his death. I mean, that is not a kid moment. Man. And coming across those at about 12 years old, I don't think I really appreciated the gravity of it, you know? Because by the end of it, he jumps, and it's somewhat clear, even to adults or to kids, that he's gonna live. He's the sea god's son. If he jumps into water, he'll be fine. But still, like, thinking about it from Percy's perspective of what it must have felt like in that moment, where Percy doesn't know that. Percy didn't know he would survive. It's an intense thing. I mean, granted, I was only, 10 at the time, because this would have been back in, like, 5th grade for me a whole good 14 years ago. But I was in no way 5 years old. Yeah, man. If you're 10 watching something that's aimed towards 5-year-olds, it's bound to be a hell of a time. Most certainly. Also, that Smelly Gabe voice came back easier than the last time it came up. Smelly Gabe. Yeah. Get out of here, Perseus. I'll mess you up. I'll send you to the dogs. After that, we went to Toys R Us and got Darkrai for Pokemon Diamond. Got Darkrai? What the hell was Darkrai doing in a Toys R Us? I thought he only appeared at, like, when people were having nightmares. Did you fall asleep at Toys R Us? And if so, why and how? However, if I fell asleep at a Toys R Us, I'd probably have nightmares too. But for Darkrai to appear, that's pretty sweet. I mean, what'd you do? Did you just, like, see him and go, like, what's up? What's up, Darkrai? How's it going? Did you give him a kiss? I wanted to keep solid memories of a disappearing place. That's right. Are Toys R Us still a thing? Gave him a kissy kiss. Good, good. That Darkrai deserves it, in my opinion. He's a good guy. Did you guys ever watch that Pokemon movie with Darkrai, Dialga, and what's the other one? Pearl Man? The Pearl Power Ranger? The Pearl, like, dinosaur Power Ranger? Palkia. There it is. That movie was sick. I honestly, like, out of all the Pokemon movies, I don't know if I was just at, like, the perfect age to watch it when I did, but I recall that one as being the best Pokemon movie I'd ever seen. It kind of remains that way. I did enjoy the remake of the original Pokemon movie, and I love the original as well. Those are unmatched classics. But for some reason, the Darkrai one, just, it got me, you know? It had just enough edge with Darkrai. There was like a collision of, you know, space versus time. I mean, come on. It's just a good thing. Hey, thanks for the follow, Omni. I bless your Wailord presence. You know, kind of ironic that we're talking about Pokemon just as you follow. I can dig it. It was meant to be. Have you seen the movie I'm talking about, Wailord? I'm trying to remember what it was called. I actually remember, on top of the 10 years old not being a kid, I got my first Pokemon game as a 10th birthday present, and I had to argue with my parents that it wasn't just for little kids. Rise of Darkrai! Let's go. I miss that movie. I would absolutely be down to watch that again. Does anybody have any so I'm trying to figure out things to do for my birthday. One thing I was thinking of doing is like a good race game. Anybody got suggestions or just kind of fun like birthday things that I could do, whether that's like good multiplayer games or good like a good movie to watch, something like that. On DVD. I have it on DVD. Oh boy, howdy do I. Bring him on. Bring him on. I want to hear him, Caden. Yeah, I don't got many plans yet. I know I'll be heading into my gymnasium for like the first in-person workout and practice that we've had in a long time. I'm excited about that. I finally get to start flipping again. I mean, I study film, so I have infinite film recommendations. What do you like the most? I like... It's a good question. I'm a big fan of anime. You know, some of my favorite films are Tokyo Godfathers, really anything by Satoshi Kon. Redline is a beauty. I dig romantic films. Not like solely focused on romance, but like things with just that like heartwarming romance kind of aspect to them. Paprika, yes, I have. That movie is wild. Wild and wacky. Ever heard of Nippon Marathon? It's a really wacky and stupid race game. Cole can attest to that. That sounds cool. I have not heard of it. Angel's Egg. I can't say I have. Angel's Egg. Why is it that egg seems like such a silly word to me when it's a very normal thing, you know? It's a really interesting dystopian thing. Nice. I can get down with dystopia. Angel's Egg. Is it anime or live action? Or cartoon? It's real dark and artsy. Nice. I can dig some dark anime. And it's nice especially if it's in the span of a movie, cuz I'm a big proprietor of, you know, the concept that the eyes are the window to the soul sort of thing, which is why, you know, I've watched in the past series like Psycho Pass and Death Note and Death Parade, you know, some animes that have darker tones, and afterwards, you know, it's almost like I have to go on like a cleanse and watch like some Gurren Lagann or just some goofy anime or goofy show, because I mean, it affects me. It has an effect. It's on YouTube. Nice, good quality on YouTube. And is it paid for on YouTube or is it just on YouTube? It's got that really pretty expensive 90s aesthetic. Yeah. I love 90s aesthetic anime, dude. Look up some screenshots of it. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll write that down too. Angel's Egg. And the game was Nippon Marathon. Sorry if you can hear my keyboard clicking and clacking. Nice. I very much appreciate the suggestions, guys. I will be sure to try and check those out. Also, if any of you ever have book suggestions or short story suggestions, please send them my way. If I can read, things that people have read before or really love, reading stuff that is suggested from my audience, it's something I want to do. So if you ever have suggestions like that, send them my way. Pretty please. Well, all right. This has been some good chatting. Oh, dude, I just realized, speaking of just chatting, I forgot to change the category again. One moment. All right. Good stuff. All right. We were apparently playing Ori this whole time. Well, not one I'd recommend for stream per se. Ever read Milkweed? Why is it not recommended for stream, might I ask? Milkweed. I definitely have not read it though. I shall write it down. Milkweed. Sick. Oh, it's a very heavy Holocaust-related book. Is it a full book or a short story? Yeah, I remember reading The Hiding Place, I think it was called, around 6th grade. I think that's what it was. Let me check to make sure. Yeah. Yep. The Hiding Place by Corey Ten Boom. That one was an intense one. All about the Holocaust. Full book. Right on. Yeah, I'm not sure I would bring that one up for stream. I'm definitely taking suggestions for full books. And if it's one that I really think would be good for the stream, I'll implement it into the schedule rotation. But for the most part, we're gonna stick to Percy Jackson, finish up that series, and yeah, like I said, if somebody really has like a book that they're really dying to hear me read, I can maybe throw it into the schedule, but that would be only one other book. Sadly, I won't be able to keep up more than, I think, 2 books at one time. But it's the only book out of anything I read in all of my time at CSD that was forced onto me that I actually remembered reading. That's good, man. Yeah, there's a few like that for me, thankfully. There were a good few. Like The Bronze Bow was one. The Phantom Tollbooth remains one of my favorite books. I remember there were a few that I genuinely hated. Like I despised certain books that were forced onto me. I apparently didn't despise them enough to remember their names, but I remember there were a few that were just awful. The Bronze Bow almost was one of those, but it's one of those books that kind of starts off a little mundane, but as it goes, it just gets better and better. Well, alright guys, it seems like the last chapter isn't super duper long, so I allowed a little extra time for just chatting and hanging out here. But we're gonna go ahead and jump to the break. Jump into the break. Don't know what that was, but regardless, let's jump to break and We'll be back in no more than 5 minutes. So it's almost 7:32. So we'll be back no later than 7:37. Be back no later than 7:38. I will do my best to be back here by 37. Alright guys, I urge all of you to stand up, stretch a little, get yourself any refreshments and snackadoos that you might want-a-roo. And yeah, once we're back, we'll be settling into the final chapter. Whew. Yeah, I urge you to get up, move around some. I'll put on some tunes and some music that I made in the past for us to listen to during the break. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Alright, love you bunches, my wildflowers. See you very soon. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, welcome back, guys. Hope everybody had a nice break. Glad to be back. I got up, I did a little stretching, I refreshed my water, all that good jazz. How's everybody feeling? I hope you enjoyed the break. Soon enough here, if I'm gonna just be playing my own music on the breaks, I'll have to start recycling some. But I imagine not everybody watches every stream, so that might be okay. We'll see. And I am always creating more music. However, currently, the music I've been creating is steady work on the intro themes for Freaky Friday and Sci-Fi Saturday, which I'm quite excited for. Especially Freaky Fridays. That theme's coming along. You want drink? I give drink. Here you are. Take drink. Why you no take drink? Nah. Surprisingly enough, grape sparkling water, not that bad. I was hesitant when I bought it. I was like, grape and water. Grape in water? What? Not that bad. Pretty good. Now grape slushy. I can get down with that. However, I've met quite a few folks who can't stand grape flavored stuff. You know, grape dum-dums, grape anything that's like fake grape. They just won't do it. I can get that though. It's been a long time since I've just had like just a grape, you know, a normal grape. A great grape, for instance. Yeah, well, again, I hope everybody had a decent and splendid break. But as soon as everybody's back, we'll be jumping into the final chapter. Heck yeah. So, it turns out Percy made it to Olympus. He got there in time. Zeus spared his life and the life of his friends. Turns out things might be okay. He had to leave his mother, which is a little bit sad, but he's headed back to Half-Blood Hill, and seems like nothing could go awry at this point, right? We will see. Well, let's go ahead and jump in, shall we? The title of this one. Again, this is Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. The prophecy comes true. Chapter 22. We were the first heroes to return alive to Half-Blood Hill since Luke, so of course everybody treated us as if we'd won some reality TV contest. According to camp tradition, we wore laurel wreaths to a big feast prepared in our honor, then led a procession down to the bonfire, where we got to burn the burial shrouds of our cabins we got to burn the burial shrouds our cabins had made for us in our absence. Annabeth's shroud was so beautiful, gray silk with embroidered owls. I told her it seemed a shame not to bury her with it. She punched me and told me to shut up. Being a son of Poseidon, I didn't have any cabin mates, so the Ares cabin had volunteered to make my shroud. They'd taken an old bedsheet and painted smiley faces with X'd out eyes around the border, and the word loser painted really big in the middle. It was fun to burn. As Apollo's cabin led the sing-along and passed out s'mores,
I was surrounded by my old Hermes cabin mates, Annabeth's friends from Athena, and Grover's satyr buddies, who were admiring the brand new searcher's license he'd received from the Council of Cloven Elders. The council had called Grover's performance on the quest brave to the point of indigestion, horns and whiskers above anything we have seen in the past. The only ones not in a party mood were Clarice and her cabin mates, whose poisonous looks told me they'd never forgive me for disgracing their dad. That was okay with me. Even Dionysus's welcome home speech wasn't enough to dampen my spirits. Yes, so the little brat didn't get himself killed, and now he will have the biggest head ever. Well, huzzah for that. In another announcement, there will be no canoe races this Saturday. I moved back into cabin 3, but it didn't feel so lonely anymore. I had my friends to train with during the day. At night, I lay awake and listened to the sea, knowing my father was out there. Maybe he wasn't quite sure about me yet. Maybe he hadn't even wanted me to be born. But he was watching, and so far, he was proud of what I'd done. As for my mother, she had a chance at a new life. Her letter arrived a week after I got back to camp. She told me Gabe had left mysteriously, disappeared off the face of the planet, in fact. She'd reported him missing to the police, but she had a funny feeling they would never find him. On a completely unrelated subject, she'd sold her first life-size concrete sculpture, entitled The Poker Player, to a collector through an art gallery in Soho. She'd gotten so much money for it, she'd put a deposit down on a new apartment and made a payment on her first semester's tuition at NYU. The Soho Gallery was clamoring for more of her work, which they called a huge step forward in super ugly neo-realism. But don't worry, my mom wrote. I'm done with sculpture. I've disposed of that box of tools you left for me. It's time for me to return to writing. At the bottom, she wrote a P.S. Percy, I found a good private school here in the city. I've put a deposit down to hold you a spot in case you want to enroll for 7th grade. You could live at home, but if you want to go year-round at Half-Blood Hill, I understand. I folded the note carefully and set it on my bedside table. Every night before I went to sleep, I read it again and tried to decide how to answer her. On the 4th of July, the whole camp gathered at the beach for a fireworks display by Cabin 9. Being Hephaestus's kids, they weren't going to settle for a few lame red, white, and blue explosions. They'd anchored a barge offshore and loaded it with rockets the size of Patriot missiles. According to Annabeth, who'd seen the show before, the blasts would be sequenced so tightly they'd look like frames of animation across the sky. The finale was supposed to be a couple of 100-foot-tall Spartan warriors who would crackle to life above the ocean, fight a battle, then explode into a million colors. As Annabeth and I were spreading a picnic blanket, Grover showed up to tell us goodbye. He was dressed in his usual jeans and t-shirt and sneakers, but in the last few weeks, he'd started to look older, almost high school age. His goatee had gotten thicker. He'd put on weight. His horns had grown at least an inch, so he now had to wear his Rasta cap all the time to pass as a human. I'm off, he said. I just came to say, well, you know. I tried to feel happy for him. After all, it wasn't every day a satyr got permission to go look for the great god Pan. But it was hard saying goodbye. I'd only known Grover a year, yet he was my oldest friend. Annabeth gave him a hug. She told him to keep his fake feet on. I asked him where he was going to search first.
Kind of a secret,
he said, looking embarrassed.
I wish you guys could come with me. But humans and Pan.
We understand, Annabeth said. You got enough tin cans for the trip?
Yeah.
And you remembered your reed pipes?
Geez, Annabeth,
he grumbled.
You're like an old mama goat.
But he didn't really sound annoyed. He gripped his walking stick and slung a backpack over his shoulder. He looked like any hitchhiker you might see on an American highway. Nothing like the little runty boy I used to defend from bullies at Yancey Academy.
Well,
he said,
wish me luck.
He gave Annabeth another hug. He clapped me on the shoulder, then headed back through the dunes. Fireworks exploded to life overhead. Hercules killing the Nemean lion, Artemis chasing the boar, George Washington, who, by the way, was a son of Athena, crossing the Delaware. "Hey, Grover," I called. He turned at the edge of the woods. "Wherever you're going, I hope they make good enchiladas." Grover grinned, and then he was gone, the trees closing around him. "We'll see him again," Annabeth said. I tried to believe it. The fact that no searcher had ever come back in 2,000 years, well, I decided not to think about that. Grover would be the first. He had to be. July passed. I spent many days devising new strategies for Capture the Flag, making alliances with the other cabins to keep the banner of Ares' hands, or to keep the banner out of Ares' hands. I got to the top of the climbing wall for the first time without getting scorched by lava. From time to time, I'd walk past the big house, glance up at the attic window, and think about the oracle. I tried to convince myself that its prophecy had come to completion. "You shall go west and face the god who has turned." Been there, done that, even though the traitor god had turned out to be Ares rather than Hades. "You shall find what was stolen and see it safely returned." Check. One master bolt delivered. One helm of darkness back on Hades' oily head. "You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend." This line still bothered me. Ares had pretended to be my friend, then betrayed me. That must be what the oracle meant. "And you shall fail to save what matters most in the end." I had failed to save my mom, but only because I'd let her save herself, and I knew that was the right thing. So why was I still uneasy? The last night of the summer session came all too quickly. The campers had one last meal together. We burned part of our dinner for the gods. At the bonfire, the senior counselors awarded the end-of-summer beads. I got my own leather necklace. When I saw the bead for my first summer, I was glad the firelight covered my blushing. The design was pitch black, with a sea green trident shimmering in the center. "The choice was unanimous," Luke announced. "This bead commemorates the first son of the sea god at this camp, and the quest he undertook into the darkest part of the underworld to stop a war." The entire camp got to their feet and cheered. Even Ares' cabin felt obliged to stand. Athena's cabin steered Annabeth to the front so she could share in the applause. I'm not sure I'd ever felt as happy or sad as I did in that moment. I'd finally found a family, people who cared about me, and thought I'd done something right. And in that morning, most of them would be leaving for the year. The next morning, I found a form letter on my bedside table. I knew Dionysus must have filled it out, because he stubbornly insisted on getting my name wrong. Dear Peter Johnson, if you intend to stay at Camp Half-Blood year-round, you must inform the big house by noon today. If you do not announce your intentions, we will assume you have vacated your cabin or died a horrible death. Cleaning harpies will be at work at sundown. They will be authorized to eat any unregistered campers. All personal articles left behind will be incinerated in the lava pit. Have a nice day, Mr. D. Camp Director, Olympian Council, number 12. That's another thing about ADHD. Deadlines just aren't real to me until I'm staring one in the face. Summer was over, and I still hadn't answered my mother, or the camp, about whether I'd be staying or going. Now I had only a few hours to decide. The decision should have been easy. I mean, 9 months of hero training, or 9 months of sitting in a classroom. Duh. But there was my mom to consider. For the first time, I had the chance to live with her for a whole year, without Gabe. I had a chance to be at home and knock around the city in my free time. I remembered what Annabeth had said so long ago on her quest. The real world is where monsters are. That's where you learn whether you're any good or not. I thought about the fate of Thalia, daughter of Zeus. I wondered how many monsters would attack me if I left Camp Half-Blood. If I stayed in one place for a whole school year, without Chiron or my friends around to help me, would my mother and I even survive until the next summer? That was assuming the spelling tests and 5-paragraph essays didn't kill me first. I decided I'd go down to the arena and do some sword practice. Maybe that would clear my head. The campgrounds were mostly deserted, shimmering in the August heat. All the campers were in their cabins packing up, or running around with brooms and mops getting ready for final inspection. Argus was helping some of the Aphrodite kids haul their Gucci suitcases and makeup kits over the hill, where the camp's shuttle bus would be waiting to take them to the airport. Don't think about leaving yet, I told myself. Just train. I got to the sword fighting arena and found that Luke had the same idea. His gym bag was plopped at the edge of the stage. He was working solo, wailing on battle dummies with a sword I'd never seen before. It must have been a regular steel blade, because he was slashing the dummies' heads right off, stabbing through their straw-stuffed guts. His orange counselor's shirt was dripping with sweat. His expression was so intense, his life might have really been in danger. I watched, fascinated, as he disemboweled the whole row of dummies, hacking off limbs and basically reducing them to a pile of straw and armor. They were only dummies, but I still couldn't help being awed by Luke's skill. The guy was an incredible fighter. It made me wonder again how he possibly could have failed at his quest. Finally, he saw me and stopped mid-swing. Percy! Sorry, I said, embarrassed. It's okay, he said, lowering his sword. Just doing some last-minute practice. Those dummies won't be bothering anybody anymore. Luke shrugged. We build new ones every summer. Now that his sword wasn't swirling around, I could see something odd about it. The blade was 2 different types of metal. One edge bronze, the other steel. Luke noticed me looking at it. Oh, this? A new toy. This is Backbiter. Backbiter? Luke turned the blade in the light so it glinted wickedly. One side is celestial bronze. The other is tempered steel. Works on mortals and immortals both. I thought about what Chiron had told me when I started my quest, that a hero should never harm mortals unless absolutely necessary. I didn't know they could make weapons like that. They probably can, Luke agreed. It's one of a kind. He gave me a tiny smile, then slid the sword back into its scabbard. Listen, I was going to come looking for you. What do you say we go down to the woods one last time? Look for something to fight? I don't know why I hesitated. I should have felt relieved that Luke was being so friendly. Ever since I'd gotten back from the quest, he'd been acting a little distant. I was afraid he might resent me for all the attention I'd gotten. You think it's a good idea? I asked. I mean, come on. He rummaged in his gym bag and pulled out a 6-pack of Cokes. Drinks are on me. I stared at the Cokes, wondering where the heck he'd gotten them. There were no regular mortal sodas at the camp store. No way to smuggle them in unless you talked to a satyr, maybe. Of course, the magic dinner goblets would fill with anything you want, but it just didn't taste the same as real Coke straight out of the can. Sugar and caffeine. My willpower crumbled. Sure, I decided. Why not? We walked down into the woods and kicked around for some kind of monster to fight. But it was too hot. All the monsters with any sense must have been taking siestas in their nice cool caves. We found a shady spot by the creek where I'd broken Clarice's spear during my first Capture the Flag game. We sat on a big rock, drank our Cokes, and watched the sunlight in the woods. After a while, Luke said, "You miss being on a quest? With monsters attacking me every 3 feet? Are you kidding?" Luke raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, I miss it," I admitted. "You?" A shadow passed over his face. I was used to hearing from the girls how good-looking Luke was, but at the moment, he looked weary and angry, and not at all handsome. His blonde hair was gray in the sunlight. The scar on his face looked deeper than usual. I could imagine him as an old man. "I've lived at Half-Blood Hill year-round since I was 14, he told me. Ever since Thalia, well, you know, I trained and trained and trained. I never got to be normal, a normal teenager out there in the real world. Then they threw me on one quest. And when I came back, it was like, okay, ride's over. Have a nice life." He crumpled his Coke can and threw it in the creek, which really shocked me. One of the first things you learn at Camp Half-Blood is, don't litter. You'll hear from the nymphs and naiads. They'll get even. You'll crawl into bed one night and find your sheets filled with centipedes and mud. "The heck with the laurel wreaths," Luke said. "I'm not going to end up like those dusty trophies in the big house attic." "You make it sound like you're leaving." Luke gave me a twisted smile. "Oh, I'm leaving. I brought you down here to say goodbye." He snapped his fingers. A small fire burned a hole in the ground at my feet. Out crawled something glistening black, about the size of my hand. A scorpion. I started to go for my pen. "I wouldn't," Luke cautioned. "Pit scorpions can jump up to 15 feet. Its stinger can pierce right through your clothes. You'll be dead in 60 seconds. "Luke, what?" Then it hit me. "You will be betrayed by one who calls you a friend." "You," I said. He stood calmly and brushed off his jeans. The scorpion paid him no attention. It kept its beady black eyes on me, clamping its pincers as it crawled onto my shoe. "I saw a lot out there in the world, Percy," Luke said. "Didn't you feel it? The darkness gathering, the monsters growing stronger. Didn't you realize how useless it all is? All the heroics, being pawns of the gods. They should have been overthrown thousands of years ago, but they've hung on. Thanks to us half-bloods." I couldn't believe this was happening. Luke, you're talking about our parents, I said. He laughed. That's supposed to make me love them. Their precious Western civilization is a disease, Percy. It's killing the world. The only way to stop it is to burn it to the ground. Start over with something more honest. You're as crazy as Ares. His eyes flared. Ares is a fool. He never realized the true master he was serving. If I had time, Percy, I could explain. But I'm afraid you won't live for that long. The scorpion crawled onto my pant leg. There had to be a way out of this. I needed time to think. Kronos, I said. That's who you serve. The air got colder. You should be careful with names, Luke warned. Kronos got you to steal the Master Bolt and the helm. He spoke to you in your dreams. Luke's eye twitched. He spoke to you too, Percy. You should have listened. He's brainwashing you, Luke. You're wrong. He showed me that my talents are being wasted. You know what my quest was 2 years ago, Percy? My father, Hermes, wanted me to steal a golden apple from the garden of the Hesperides and return it to Olympus. After all the training I'd done, that was the best he could think up? That's not an easy quest, I said. Hercules did it. Exactly, Luke said. Where's the glory in repeating what others have done? All the gods know how to do is replay their past. My heart wasn't in it. The dragon in the garden gave me this. He pointed angrily at his scar. And when I came back, all I got was pity. I wanted to pull Olympus down stone by stone right then, but I bided my time. I began to dream of Kronos. He convinced me to steal something worthwhile, something no hero had ever had the courage to take. When we went on that winter solstice field trip, while the other campers were asleep, I snuck into the throne room and took Zeus's Master Bolt right from his chair. Hades' helm of darkness, too. You wouldn't believe how easy it was. The Olympians are so arrogant. They never dreamed someone would dare steal from them. Their security is horrible. I was halfway across New Jersey before I heard the storms rumbling, and I knew they'd discovered my theft. The scorpion was sitting on my knee now, staring at me with its glittering eyes. I tried to keep my voice level. So, why didn't you bring the items to Kronos? Luke's smile wavered. I got overconfident. Zeus sent out his sons and daughters to find the stolen bolt. Artemis, Apollo, my father, Hermes, but it was Ares who caught me. I could have beaten him, but I wasn't careful enough. He disarmed me, took the items of power, threatened to return them to Olympus and burn me alive. Then Kronos' voice came to me and told me what to say. I put the idea in Ares' head about a great war between the gods. I said all he had to do was hide the items away for a while and watch the others fight. Ares got a wicked gleam in his eyes. I knew he was hooked. He let me go, and I returned to Olympus before anyone noticed my absence. Luke drew his new sword. He ran his thumb down the flat blade, as if he were hypnotized by its beauty. Afterward, the Lord of the Titans, he punished me with nightmares. I swore not to fail again, but at Camp Half-Blood, in my dreams, I was told that a second hero would arrive. One who could be tricked into taking the bolt and the helm the rest of the way, from Ares down to Tartarus. You summoned the Hellhound that night in the forest. We had to make Chiron think the camp wasn't safe. That way, he would start you on your quest. We had to confirm his fears that Hades was after you. And it worked. The flying shoes were cursed, I said. They were supposed to drag me and the backpack into Tartarus. And they would have, if you'd been wearing them. But you gave them to the satyr, which wasn't part of the plan. Grover messes up everything he touches. He even confused the curse. Luke looked down at the scorpion, which was now sitting on my thigh. You should have died in Tartarus, Percy. But don't worry. I'll leave you with my little friend and set things right. Thalia gave her life to save you, I said, gritting my teeth. And this is how you repay her. Don't speak of Thalia, he shouted. The gods let her die. It's one of the many things they'll pay for. You're being used, Luke. You and Ares both. Don't listen to Kronos. I've been used. Luke's voice turned shrill. Look at yourself. What has your dad ever done for you? Kronos will rise. You've only delayed his plans. He will cast the Olympians into Tartarus and drive humanity back to their caves. All except the strongest. The ones who serve him. Call off the bug, I said. If you're so strong, fight me yourself. Luke smiled. Nice try, Percy. But I'm not Ares. You can't bait me. My lord is waiting. He's got plenty of quests for me to undertake. Luke, goodbye, Percy. This is a new golden age coming. You won't be part of it. He slashed his sword in an arc, disappeared in a ripple of darkness. The scorpion lunged. I swatted it away with my hand and uncapped my sword. The thing jumped at me, and I cut it in half midair. I was about to congratulate myself until I looked down at my hand. My palm had a huge red welt, oozing and smoking with yellow guck. The thing had gotten me after all. My ears pounded. My vision went foggy. The water, I thought, it healed me before. I stumbled to the creek and submerged my hand, but nothing seemed to happen. The poison was too strong. My vision was getting dark. I could barely stand up. 60 seconds, Luke had told me. I had to get back to camp. If I collapsed out here, my body would be dinner for a monster. Nobody would ever know what had happened. My legs felt like lead. My forehead was burning. I stumbled toward camp. And the naiads stirred from their trees. Help! I croaked. Please! 2 of them took my arms, pulling me along. I remember making it to the clearing, a counselor shouting for help, a centaur blowing a conch horn. Then, everything went black. I awoke with a drinking straw in my mouth. I was sipping something that tasted like liquid chocolate chip cookies. Nectar. I opened my eyes. I was propped up in bed in the sick room of the big house. My right hand was bandaged like a club. Argus stood guard in the corner. Annabeth sat next to me, holding my nectar glass and dabbing a washcloth on my forehead. Here we are again, I said. You idiot, Annabeth said, which is how I knew she was overjoyed to see me conscious. You were green and turning gray when we found you. If it weren't for Chiron's healing... No, Chiron's voice said. Percy's constitution deserves some of the credit. He was sitting near the foot of my bed in human form, which is why I hadn't noticed him yet. His lower half was magically compacted into the wheelchair. His upper half was dressed in a coat and tie. He smiled, but his face looked wary and pale, the way it did when he'd been up all night grading Latin papers. How are you feeling? he asked. Like my insides have been frozen, then microwaved.
Apt, considering that was pit scorpion venom. Now you must tell me, if you can, exactly what happened.
Between sips of nectar, I told them the story. The room was quiet for a long time. I can't believe that, Luke. Annabeth's voice faltered. Her expression turned angry and sad. Yes, I can believe it. May the gods curse him. He was never the same after his quest.
This must be reported to Olympus, Chiron muttered. I will go at once.
Luke is out there right now, I said. I have to go after him. Chiron shook his head.
No, Percy. The gods
won't even talk about Kronos, I snapped. Zeus declared that matter closed.
Percy, I know this is hard, but you must not rush for vengeance. You aren't ready.
I didn't like it, but part of me suspected Chiron was right. One look at my hand, and I knew I wasn't going to be sword fighting anytime soon. Chiron, your prophecy from the oracle. It was about Kronos, wasn't it? Was I in it? And Annabeth? Chiron glanced nervously at the ceiling.
Percy, it isn't my place.
You've been ordered not to talk to me about it, haven't you? His eyes were sympathetic, but sad.
You will be a great hero, child. I will do my best to prepare you. But if I'm right about the path ahead of you...
Thunder boomed overhead, rattling the windows.
All right,
Chiron shouted.
Fine.
He sighed in frustration.
The gods have their reasons, Percy. Knowing too much of your future is never a good thing.
We can't just sit back and do nothing, I said.
We will not sit back,
Chiron promised.
But you must be careful. Kronos wants you to come unraveled. He wants your life disrupted, your thoughts clouded with fear and anger. Do not give him what he wants. Train patiently. Your time will come.
Assuming I live that long. Chiron put his hand on my ankle.
You'll have to trust me, Percy. You will live. But first, you must decide your path for the coming year. I cannot tell you the right choice.
I got the feeling that he had a very definite opinion, and it was taking all his willpower not to advise me.
But you must decide whether to stay at Camp Half-Blood year-round, or return to the mortal world for 7th grade and be a summer camper. Think on that. When I get back from Olympus, you must tell me your decision.
I wanted to protest. I wanted to ask him more questions, but his expression told me there could be no more discussion. He had said as much as he could.
I'll be back as soon as I can, Chiron promised. August will watch over you.
He glanced at Annabeth.
Oh, and my dear, whenever you are ready, they're here.
Who's here? I asked. Nobody answered. Chiron rolled himself out of the room. I heard the wheels of his chair clunk carefully down the front steps, 2 at a time. Annabeth studied the ice in my drink. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing. She set the glass on the table. I just took your advice about something. You, need anything? Yeah, help me up. I want to go outside. Percy, that isn't a good idea. I slid my legs out of the bed. Annabeth caught me before I could crumple to the floor. A wave of nausea rolled over me. Annabeth said, I told you. I'm fine, I insisted. I didn't want to lie in a bed like an invalid while Luke was out there planning to destroy the Western world. I managed a step forward, then another, still leaning heavily on Annabeth. Argus followed us outside, but he kept his distance. By the time we reached the porch, my face was beaded with sweat. My stomach had twisted into knots, but I had managed to make it all the way to the railing. It was dusk. The camp looked completely deserted. The cabins were dark, and the volleyball pit silent. No canoes cut the surface of the lake. Beyond the woods and the strawberry fields, the Long Island Sound glittered in the last light of the sun. "What are you going to do?" Annabeth asked me. "I don't know." I told her I got the feeling Chiron wanted me to stay year-round, to put in more individual training time, but I wasn't sure that's what I wanted. I admitted I'd feel bad about leaving her alone, though, with only Clarice for company. Annabeth pursed her lips, then said quietly, "I'm going home for the year, Percy." I stared at her. "You mean to your dad's?" She pointed toward the crest of Half-Blood Hill, next to Thalia's pine tree. At the very edge of the camp's magical boundaries, a family stood, silhouetted. 2 little children, a woman, and a tall man with blonde hair. They seemed to be waiting. The man was holding a backpack that looked like the one Annabeth had gotten from Waterland in Denver. "I wrote him a letter when we got back," Annabeth said, "just like you suggested. I told him I was sorry. I'd come home for the school year if he wanted me. He wrote back immediately. We decided we'd give it another try." "That took guts." She pursed her lips. "You won't try anything stupid during the school year, will you? At least, not without sending me an Iris message." I managed to smile. "I won't go looking for trouble. I usually don't have to." "When I get back next summer," she said, "we'll hunt down Luke. We'll ask for a quest, but if we don't get approval, we'll sneak off and do it anyway. Agreed?" "Sounds like a plan worthy of Athena." She held out her hand. I shook it. "Take care, seaweed brain," Annabeth told me. "Keep your eyes open." "You too, wise girl." I watched her walk up the hill and join her family. She gave her father an awkward hug and looked back at the valley one last time. She touched Thalia's pine tree, then allowed herself to be led over the crest and into the mortal world. For the first time at camp, I felt truly alone. I looked out at Long Island Sound, and I remembered my father saying, "The sea does not like to be restrained." I made my decision. I wondered if Poseidon were watching, would he approve of my choice? "I'll be back next summer," I promised him. "I'll survive until then. After all, I am your son." I asked Argus to take me down to Cabin 3, so I could pack my bags for home. Man, oh man. And thus ends Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief. Acknowledgements. Without the assistance of numerous valiant helpers, I would have been slain by monsters many times over as I endeavored to bring this story to print. Thanks to my elder son, Haley Michael, who heard the story first. My younger son, Patrick John, who at the age of 6 is the level-headed one in the family, and my wife Becky, who puts up with many long hours at Camp Half-Blood. Thanks also to my cater of middle school beta testers, Travis Stoll, clever and quick as Hermes, C.C. Kellogg, beloved as Athena, Allison Bauer, clear-headed or clear-eyed as Artemis the Huntress, and Mrs. Margaret Floyd, the wise and kindly seer of middle school English. My appreciation also to Professor Egbert J. Baker, classicist extraordinaire, Nancy Galt, agent, summa cum laude, Jonathan Burnham, Jennifer Besser, and Sarah Hughes, for believing in Percy. Man, what an ending. That's some good stuff. That little goodbye between Annabeth and Percy. Dude, I mean, look at me. Grinning like a little giggling schoolboy. It's so cute. I like that notion of we'll get a quest to stop Luke next summer. Even if we don't, we'll sneak out and do it anyway. Shows their dedication to one another. That would kind of suck, though. Did any of you guys ever go to summer camps? Or some kind of summer program, you know? Met a certain person that you felt you didn't want to live without? And then suddenly the end of summer comes and you know that there will be a little over half a year between the next time the two of you would meet. I believe that happened to me once. The only trouble was I didn't go back to that same camp next summer. Oh, yeah, and that was when I was younger. I also had this one summer session that I went to when I was 16. It was about a month long. And the people that I met there were really something else. Phenomenal folks. Not really any summer camps. Yeah. It was nice though, because I may have found folks that I love at the summer session, but I didn't fall in love, so to speak. I didn't find a girl who I was super affectionate for. That's a lie. That is a straight lie. What the hell? What am I saying? Golly. Yeah, there was a girl named Ko. She called me Mo. So that I know, dude, I am a liar. I like to think that I didn't, because I had a girlfriend waiting back home for me. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm still the loyal kind of chap. I didn't do the dirty with this girl or even kiss her or anything like that, but I can tell you for sure that I loved her. Yeah, she called me Mo. I called her Ko. Sometimes Coco. Whenever we greeted each other, we'd go, Coco, Como, Momo, Como. Como, Coco, Mo. Mo, Coco, Mo, Como. Some variation of that, which I found cute. And again, wholesome. Yeah, I could stand to... I think it would be a good thing to at least check in on her, see how she's doing. I know she was a streamer for a time, actually. She streamed Overwatch, I think, during the height of its popularity. I'm sorry, dude. See, this is what happens when I just speak words without thinking them through. Lies. Lies come. Sometimes. It's an interesting phenomenon, though. If I speak without thinking through my words, normally I'd think that that would make for the most genuine speech, right? The most genuine talk. However, occasionally I don't remember things exactly how they were. And so if I don't think through them first, it can wind up lying without even realizing it. Well, regardless, this was a darn good book. If I had to choose a favorite part of it, it's definitely the moment at the top of the bridge. Yeah, there's nothing that could top that one. That or maybe the Ares fight. That was a solid part. An intense part. And honestly, that moment that we came across tonight, the betrayal of one that called Percy friend. That was a good thing. That was a good little twist. Sadly, though, that was one of the main things that I actually did remember from this book, so I wasn't exactly surprised, but I hope some of you out there were. Yeah, man, I'm glad you liked it. I know you haven't ever touched the Percy Jackson series, but it's really cool of you to walk through it with me and experience what was so meaningful to me back in my preteen years. Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, guys, I don't know. Have any other final thoughts? I am super excited, though. This means tomorrow we start the next book in the series, The Sea of Monsters. I know there are some pretty sweet moments in that one too. And next time on merrymitch Reads, we will see what happens when our heroes return to Camp Half-Blood. We'll get to find out how their summers went and what all they did. It'll be a good time. And I pray I'll see all you guys there. I think, I'm not sure about Tuesday yet. It is my birthday, so I don't know if that would mean I should take a break from the streaming thing, or if I should do like a special event kind of thing. I haven't actually thought it through all that much yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. Would you guys like to see a sort of special stream on my birthday? That could prove to be pretty fun. Trying to think what would be a good thing for that. I've been trying for a while to think of like what would be a good comedic version of what I do. Because, you know, there are some funny moments in Percy Jackson, but that's kind of, and sometimes I say a goofy thing like in these little middle parts or discussion sections, but I want to like have a little like session where we read some funny and lighthearted stuff. Mad Libs. Shoot. that's actually a good idea. Merry Mad Libs. I can dig that. Huh. Yeah, what if we did I come up with a Mad Lib, right? Or I find one online. I let you guys decide how to fill in the blanks, and then I read through it, and I have to read through it as serious as I possibly can. But if I smile or laugh, I lose. The only thing with that though is I would want to not be able to see it as it's created, you know? Coleman, would it be possible for you to like run that part? Would you be down to do that? So you give out the Mad Lib and discuss in the chat, or you can hop on a call and speak through the stream. I'll take off my headphones for a while. You guys discuss, create the Mad Lib. I come back, and then that's when I read it through. And if I smile or laugh, I lose. That could be fun. I like that idea. Yeah, good suggestion, Caden. That'll probably be like a short session though, I think. Like we'll do maybe like 4 Mad Libs and then call it there. Unless we're having just like a grand dandy old time or something, then maybe we'll continue with something else. I also thought about maybe we could read my all-time favorite book. Could read part of the Phantom Toll Booth. Or I was also thinking fan fictions might be funny. But if so, what fan fictions to look into? Do you guys know of some good fanfics? Oh, sorry, dude. My Immortal. Is that a good fanfic? Oh, and don't worry about Nightbot. It'll warn you, but I don't have it set to where it'll ever like ban someone. I think it may like put you in a timeout or something for a short bit, but that's the most it does. Yeah, I'd be down to read that one. Yeah, so I say we do some Mad Libs tomorrow on Tuesday, and like a couple Mad Libs, and then some infamous fanfics. I'm down with that. Heck yeah. Well, alright guys. I think it's about time we cut the stream off. I may be in a little while jumping on with Lucas, Loop Cubes, the one that was featured last night. And we may be doing a little bit of, Skyrim scrolls, some Skyrim scroll action. But we didn't like mark out a specific time, so I got to go discuss that with him and see if we're actually doing that or not. I may actually want kind of a break though. The last couple nights were incredible. The last couple nights, Friday and Saturday were awesome streams, but they were a bit long, and I am a little worn down. So I imagine that this will probably be a good night for the night, but just keep Discord open, and if you see something in the Merry Mitch announcements, you'll know that I decided to do some Skyrim scrolls. Well, sweetness.
thanks everybody for coming for the exciting conclusion. This has been a great weekend of streams. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I might be down for that. Definitely give me a little bit of time to decompress from the stream. You know, chill out a bit. But yeah, I'd be down to hop on in like an hour or two. All right, guys. Much love. We just finished a book. This is a momentous occasion, and I am so happy that you guys could be here with me for it. I love you too, Coleman. I love you more than sour gummy worms, even. That's a lot of love. Alright. Cool beans. I'm gonna load up the... Oh! Dude, I just realized I forgot to play the intro theme. We're not using those for the weekend anymore, so I think it's likely that I might forget on Sundays. But regardless, my wildflowers, stay beautiful, take care of yourselves, and I look forward to starting the new book tomorrow. And for the fun times for my birthday. Alright, love you guys, sleep well, and thanks for coming with me on this journey along with the sea god's son. Catch you next time. Mwah.